able to she'll not be reading, so
I'm happy to read if someone can share the screen, because now my computer is not coming on. I don't know why.
okay, I'll share the screen.
If you want, you can read. That's fine.
No, no problem. If you want to read, you can. I'll share the screen.
Okay, please.
But yeah.
Jai Gurudev, you can start. It's live on YouTube.
Okay.
We'll chant Om 3 times. Let's close our eyes. Breathing in for Om. 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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहैः तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। And 62nd shlok.
I think it's showing only 237 pages. How come I'll just let me see. $352, right? 352.
I didn't note the page yesterday.
Yeah, it's 352, but 1 second. It's showing 237 pages only. I don't know how come it's showing 237 pages. Yeah, it's there. 3. Okay. $322 is coming. 352. $46. 352. Right. I'll 352. I'll change the screen. 1 second. Right?
Yeah, we finished 61. We are doing 62.
Okay. Here.
This is 63, no?
62. 62 and 63.
Okay.
Yeah.
ध्यायतो विषयन् पुंसः संगस्ते सुपजायते Sangat sanjayate kama, kamat krodho bijayate, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
Vipra.
smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. You have to raise it a bit so I can read. Vishayan, objects, dhyayatah, for one who dwells upon, pumsaha, for the person, sangaha, attachment, tesu, with reference to them, ubajayate, is born, sanga, from attachment, sanjayate, is born, kama, desire, kamat, from desire, krodha is born. Krodha, anger. Abhijayate is born. Krodhat, from anger. Bhavati, comes. Sammoha, delusion. From anger comes delusion. Sammohat, from delusion. Smriti vibhramaha. Smriti vibhramaha, loss of memory. Smriti vrashtat, from loss of memory. Buddhinashaha, ruin of the mind. Buddhinasha, from ruin of the mind. Pranashyati, one is destroyed. No, you can go forward.
You read the.
I read 63 also together. It is 62, 63 together. And
Yeah,
the whole.
you read the Sanskrit words now, like joining them together. Vishayan punsis, like this. Vishayan punsis. Sangateshu upajayate, sangat sanjayate, kamaha, kamat, krodha, abhijayate, krodhat, bhavati, sammoha, sammohat, smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat, buddhinasha, buddhinashat pranashyati. Yeah.
Thank you. In the person who dwells upon objects, an attachment is born with reference to them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire, anger is born. From anger comes delusion, and from delusion comes the loss of memory. Because of the loss of memory, the mind becomes incapacitated. And when the mind is incapacitated, the person is destroyed. Every desired object has its own peculiarities, its enticing qualities, and desirable attributes. The object is not desired for itself. It is desired because it is seen as desirable. The person being discussed in these two verses meditates on the peculiarities and desirabilities of objects instead of meditating on the inner self, pragyatatma. One who dwells on a particular object and its merits develops a certain longing, a certain love or affection for the object. The word object here refers to anything that you think of and therefore includes people as well. First, you come into contact with an object or a person, and then when the encounter is over, it is over, unless, of course, the object or person keeps coming back into your head. There is no reason as to why certain objects come back to your head. They just do. And when they do, you dwell upon them. An object that comes back into your head and goes away again is not a problem. Any experience leaves a certain memory, smriti. And because of the impact of the experience, the whole scene may be played back in your mind. This in itself is not a problem. What happens, however, is that you begin to like the object and begin to dwell upon its desirability. Even at this stage, there is no real problem. Dwelling upon the object is what is meant by meditation here. Meditation means constantly thinking about something. It may be something about a person that you keep dwelling upon. The person's dress, jewelry, voice, speech, mannerisms, decorum, thinking, hair, nose, eyes, or height, or all of which represents the countless varieties of objects upon which you can meditate. Meditation is the flow of thoughts about an object and anything connected to it. Sajayat, sajayatiya vritti pravaha.
Sajatya. Sajatya vritti.
Sajayatiya vritti pravaha. So that is constant thinking about something. Anyone wants to share anything? So meditation, the flow of thoughts about an object and anything connected to it. The meditation of attachment. Krishna was not talking about the person who meditates on the Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Even though the person he was discussing may be smiling while meditating. The smile is only because of the memory of some compliment or the other. It is a smile of elation, and this elation is what meant by attachment, sangha. It's a smile of memory. Hmm? There is no certain love, a certain affection that has developed for another person or object, a sense of being pleased with the object. Otherwise, there would be no attachment. Once a smile comes at the thought of the object, it means that attachment has already been established. You cannot discover affection for anything without first dwelling upon it. A person may develop affection for a cat merely by continuing to think about it and caring for it. An attachment can also develop so that without the cat, the person finds that life is empty. If life is full, only life is full. If life is full only when it is full of cats and dogs, definitely we'll find life full of cats and dogs. Think of attachment. This kind of attachment can occur towards any object, a carpet, furniture, anything. It is any wonder then that there is affection and then attachment towards a person who talks nicely in a sweet voice that utters pleasing words. If affection for an attachment to a mewing cat can be developed, of course, a talking, smiling, thinking person is capable of evoking an even better response. Affection in itself is no problem. The problem is whatever you like, you always want to possess. This is why Krishna said that desire is born from attachment. That attachment is the cause of desire. So this is why Krishna said that desire is born from attachment, and attachment is the cause of desire. And because there are different types of objects, there are different types of desires. The desire to possess, the desire to own, the desire to experience. To create a desire, all that is required is all that is required is a causal glance at a Caribbean cruise brochure that came in the mail. In fact, the whole idea of direct mail is to create a desire in you. You may call it junk mail, but for those who send it, it is not junk. They know that someone will be attached to the idea conveyed by the brochure, and to ensure that you do not forget that they also sell you follow-up literature. When the second brochure arrives, the pleasant memory that had been stored based on the first brochure comes to mind, and affection for the subject matter develops. From this affection alone comes the desire to go on a Caribbean cruise. In this way, the desire to experience, to own, to possess is created. Very clear, no? That it is the attachment or association to something pleasant, and the desire to want to own, possess, or experience, that is where the problem comes.
Yeah, Hari Om. It is just that those two words Swamiji already explained, sneha and abhisneha. Affection is okay, but when it increases to the extent, then it becomes bondage.
Hmm. Repeat that again, the affection.
Yeah, the example Swamiji had given, no, mother has affection for a child. So it is okay, it is necessary for his growth. But when it becomes abhisneha, means when it becomes more than, and when you become like a helicopter parent where you are observing each and every moment of the child and becoming anxious, that is negative. That becomes the bondage. That, oh, he is not eating or he is
Hmm.
not sleeping or whatever, maybe. Or maybe when he grows up, but still you continue to worry about these all aspects. So that becomes
So sneha
abhisneha.
and abhisneha, you said, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sneha and
These words are Swamiji's. Previously, only he had mentioned that affection is necessary, but there
Hmm.
should be a limit. Same thing like
Hmm.
when we water the plants. If you give too much of water to the plant, then also it dies.
Hmm. Not every desire can be fulfilled. Varieties of desires are born depending on the objects for which you have affection and attachment. Desire also is not a problem, but once a well shaped desire has been formed, once it is no longer in the fancy state, you have to deal with it. You have to fulfill it, and this causes you to take action. If you can fulfill the desire, there is no problem. More often than not, however, the desire is not fulfilled. This then is where the problem arises. Not every desire can be fulfilled. It is not that easy. there are many obstacles that prevent the fulfillment of some desires. The problem comes then when the desires are not fulfilled and you become angry. The desire itself turns into anger, krodha. Thus, desire is the cause for anger, or in the words of Krishna, anger is born out of desire. Anger is born of desire. If there is no expectation with reference to a desire, there will be no anger if the desire is not fulfilled. Somehow, you want someone to do something for you and the person does not do it. If you know that he or she might not do it, then there's no anger. But if you expected the person to do it, you will definitely be angry when it is not done. Even if the anger is not expressed, anger is born. The intensity with which you desire something is what determines the magnitude of your anger and not the object itself. So, the intensity with which you desire something determines the magnitude of your anger, not the object itself. So, that's why Gurudev says anger is the punishment you give to yourself. Because the object is not affected, you are affected. If your desire is such that it does not matter to you whether or not it is fulfilled, then anger will not be there. Even if it is, it will amount to very little. Whereas, if the intensity of the desire is great, the anger comes from the desire not being fulfilled, is not going to be easily managed either by you or by the person who happens to be between you and what you want. If the other person is an obstruction to what you want, then your desire will turn into anger towards that person. If you expect the person to behave in a certain way and he or she does not behave in that manner, then the person will definitely be the target of your anger. And if that person's behavior is not according to your expectations because of another person, then your anger gets directed towards the other person. And sometimes your anger against the second may be more than towards the first. The nature of anger. Anger is always towards the obstruction to the fulfillment of your desire. So the obstruction, that's the key. If between you and the object that you desire, there is an obstruction, that obstruction is the target of your anger. The desire itself is deflected against this obstruction, and this deflected ray of desire is what is called anger. So the desire itself gets deflected against this obstruction, and this deflected ray of desire is called anger. In this way, this anger is like the vinegar that may result when you try to make wine. Both the wine and the vinegar have as their essence the grapes alone. But the wine turns into vinegar. How? It too has its own story. The point here is not to avoid anger by avoiding the desire. Rather, you have to remove the sting from your desires, for which a proper attitude is very important. That everything should happen as I want it is not a realistic expectation. And such an expectation is due to raga dveshas alone. The raga dveshas, your likes and dislikes, have to be neutralized if you want to be like, if you would like to be free of anger. Nor is it a matter of controlling anger. So you can neither avoid the desire nor can you control the anger. What does controlling anger really mean? Anger is inside and you are simmering, simmering, simmering until suddenly one day it erupts like a volcano. Once anger is there, what happens is only too well known. Aviveka, lack of discrimination, will definitely be there. In anger, you are not going to take time to consider whether a certain action is proper or improper. You are not going to spend time considering, should I kick him or should I punch him? Whatever comes first is what happens. Once anger is there, things just take place. What you do or say takes place of what you do or say takes place on its own accord and depends entirely upon the past, your upbringing, and so on. There is no question of control here. The very meaning of anger is that viveka, with reference to what should and should not be done, is lacking. Hmm. And from this anger comes delusion, sammoha. When what is being pointed out in these two verses is the process that takes place when one dwells upon an object. There is no time involved here. Dwelling on an object implies affection, desire, anger, delusion, and more. So, two things we are clear about: raga dveshas and aviveka. Because of the delusion born of anger, loss of memory, smriti vibhrama. Smriti vibhrama takes place, loss of memory. The word smriti, memory, refers here to whatever you may have learned by studying the Shastra. Mm. Whatever you have assimilated about right and wrong, whatever you have learned from your teachers, elders, and life experiences, what made you angry in the past, what happened, and so on. None of these you remember because delusion has come, and along with it, aviveka. Thus, there is loss of memory with reference to all the wisdom you have gathered from your past education and experiences. Once the wisdom of your past experiences, smriti, is not available, the mind is incapacitated. There is buddhi nasha. Your buddhi now is incapable of analyzing whether something is to be done or not to be done because whatever wisdom you had gathered is not available to you. Delusion is like an inner torpor, blackout that makes you forget the wisdom you had. Therefore, your buddhi, your intellect, is unable to do what it is supposed to do. It is incapable of giving orders to go ahead or stop in accordance with what is right and wrong. This is what the buddhi is supposed to do, but it is not available to do it. Anyone would like to share? So when you're in the grip of anger, you go by your past experiences or your habit patterns, because mind is deluded and you do not have your intellect to make the right decision. So you go by the old pattern, the impressions there. And all that you learned during your upbringing, your shastras, what you've learned, or what you have learned from your teachers, everything, all the wisdom is not available to the intellect. So intellect is incapacitated. And when the intellect is gone, then you don't know what to do, what is right and what is not right. The intellect is unable to do what is supposed to do, incapable of giving orders to go ahead or to stop, to do what is right and wrong, to know what is right and wrong. That is what buddhi is supposed to do, but it is not available to you. So when buddhi is gone, sarvanash, everything is gone. So this attachment to your desire, which first comes with association with that object or person or situation. So sangha, association. And I liked the way Swamiji said that it is a smile of desire. That is where you have to recognize. Because the smile brings the memory, the pleasant memory or the desire. And when it is again exposed, again the attachment gets stronger and stronger until you come to a stage either you want to own it, possess it, or experience it. And whatever comes as an obstruction in the way of you experiencing the desire becomes the object of your anger. It's not the object itself, but the obstruction. So the desire gets deflected as anger towards that obstruction. And when anger, so he first talked about the desire is because of the raga dvesha, impressions alone. So we need to develop a right attitude from the first place. So you can't control your anger. You can't disassociate from your desire, like stay away, avoiding the desire. But because the impressions of raga dvesha is already established, so just by staying away from the desire, you can't say you are free from desire. You have to free your mind of those raga dveshas. Then second way is to control your anger. So, but controlling your anger means it is directed inwards to yourself. Because it says, no, it's simmering, 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 and one day it will explode like a volcano. And what does that mean? When anger explodes, you have lost your power to discriminate. There is no viveka. There is only aviveka. There is no discrimination what is right behavior, what is wrong behavior. You just explode. And this also, because at that moment, your intellect is not available to you. When anger explodes, intellect is not available to you to make a judgment, reason, right, which is right or wrong action. So when intelligence is not available to you, mind is in sammoha, delusion, total blackout inside. Because buddhi cannot function without memory and wisdom. The knowledge is not available now. So when buddhi is lost, everything is lost. Buddhi nasham leads to sarvanasham. This is what I gathered from this.
That total blackout is so significant.
True, no? It in our experience also, when we are angry, that peak of anger, there is no thought, there is no reasoning, or you just explode and say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do. Even that you have no control. It comes from that habit pattern. So much importance to cleaning the impressions. Habit pattern sitting there. We have to clean.
Can you read that
Put effort.
about the anger where it is because of the objects? That anger is because of the objects.
Yeah.
That sentences. Can you read again?
Yeah. Yeah. Anger is always towards the obstruction to the fulfillment of your desire. If between you and the object that you desire, there is an obstruction, that obstruction is the target of your anger. The desire itself is deflected against this obstruction, and this deflected ray of desire is what is called anger. In this way, anger is like the vinegar that may result when you try to make wine. Both wine and vinegar have their essence, have as their essence the grapes alone. But when wine turns into vinegar, how? It too has its own story. Like Gurudev says, no, fermented anger. That is vinegar. And the desire ferments inside you, eats inside you. The point here is not to avoid anger by avoiding the desire. We try to do that, no? We suppress the desire, or we avoid the desire. Rather, you have to remove the sting from your desires, for which a proper attitude is very important. That everything should happen as I want it is not a realistic expectation. And such an expectation is due to raga dveshas alone. So Swadhyaya, look inside. What are your raga dveshas? And the raga dveshas, your likes and dislikes, have to be neutralized if you would like to be free from anger. We must, at least I have noticed that in the last, ever since I joined Art of Living and did all the Art of Living courses, the intensity of anger has gone away. And slowly you're coming to a state when anger doesn't come, or anger doesn't stay. It's kind of gone. You might get angry, but maybe for a fraction of a second, but it disappears very soon. For me, that bowing down process helped a lot to not get caught in the grip of anger. But sometimes sadness gets replaced. That is also there. So I guess now you have to work on that aspect, because you know your consciousness is not sad. It is Sat Chittananda. So you have to work on that.
Even the grip of the desire also has little bit mellowed down, no, over the years due to all these courses and courses.
Yeah. The
Previously,
feverishness is gone.
the same record used to be there at the background. of any particular desire. And we never used to realize it also that, oh, it is a desire which is pushing me for so many things. Of course, now a little bit more awareness and little bit more quickly we can come back to the knowledge at least. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
So sadness is also the byproduct of anger only. Means we cannot express the anger, then sadness.
Yeah, correct.
So again, we have to watch our from where it is, which desire, because of
Yeah.
which desire.
Sometimes
how to
sadness comes from
Same
not
thing
directly
happens with
from
me.
anger. It can also come from a kind of a recognition that your desire is not going to get fulfilled. So it need not go to anger
Still there
at the
is
desire
raga
level.
and dvesha.
Correct. Yes, raga dvesha is there. But expectation has reduced over the years. Or I can almost say no expectations. Actually, so many things are really connected. Our sattva, rajas, tamas is also connected to our moods and sadness and all that.
Next paragraph also, please.
Okay.
Or it is matter of control.
It is a matter of controlling anger. What does controlling anger really mean? The anger is inside and you are simmering until suddenly one day it erupts like a volcano. Once anger is there, what happens is only too well known. Aviveka, lack of discrimination, will definitely be there. In anger, you are not going to take the time to consider whether a certain action is proper or improper. You are not going to spend time considering, should I kick him or should I punch him? Whatever comes first is what happens. Once anger is there, things just take place. What you do or say takes place of its own accord and depends entirely upon the past. See, that memory that is sitting there, the impressions that is sitting there, it will depend entirely upon your past, your upbringing, and so on. There is no question of control here. The very meaning of anger is that viveka, with reference to what should and should not be done, is lacking. And from this anger comes delusion, sammoha. What is being pointed out in these two verses is the process that takes place when one dwells on an object. So this is the thing, dwelling on an object. There is no time involved here. Dwelling on an object implies affection, desire, anger, delusion, and more. Because of the delusion born of anger, loss of memory, smriti vibhrama takes place. The word smriti, memory, refers here to whatever you may have learned by studying the Shastra. So all this knowledge we gain, what all gets lost in that moment of anger is not available to us. Whatever you have assimilated about right and wrong, whatever you learned from your teachers, elders, and life experiences, what made you angry in the past, what happened, and so on. None of these you remember because delusion has come, and along with it, aviveka. Thus, there is a loss of memory with reference to all the wisdom you had gathered from the past education and experiences. Once the wisdom of your past experiences, vritti, is not available, mind is incapacitated. There is buddhi nash. Your buddhi now is incapable of analyzing. See, without memory, so correct. Without memory, it is incapable of analyzing whether something is to be done or not to be done, because whatever wisdom you had gathered is not available to you. Delusion is like a inner torpor. I don't know what torpor means. It's like an inner torpor, a blackout that makes you forget the wisdom you had. Therefore, your buddhi, your intellect is unable to do what it is supposed to do. It is incapable of giving orders to go ahead or stop in accordance with what is right and wrong. This is what buddhi is supposed to do, but it is not available to do it. In the absence of wisdom, impulse takes over. The buddhi is only available when wisdom is available. And in the absence of wisdom, it behaves as though it is not programmed at all. Impulse takes over. In other words, the buddhi is destroyed. Pranashyati. The person is no more a human being and can be likened to an animal because he or she gives himself or herself over to impulses. The impulses take over and determine exactly what the person is going to do. It may be biting, kicking, screaming, hitting someone, or even committing suicide. When a person is controlled by impulse, anything can happen, and whatever happens just happens. Until anger comes, the person can be careful. But once anger is there, all caution is gone. The verbs used in these two verses are very revealing in this regard. From attachment, desire is born. And from desire, anger is born. At this point, however, the verb changes from is born to takes place. From anger, delusion takes place. And from delusion, the capacity of the mind takes place. This shows how the person has no more any control over the situation. Once anger is born, delusion, loss of wisdom, and the destruction of the person just take place. Control is possible only before anger. Afterwards, what happens is history. Given that, meditating on desirable objects creates problems for you. The message of the Gita is clear. Instead of meditating upon objects, meditate upon the self. Instead of meditating upon your own problems and inhibitions, meditate upon the pragyatatma, the inner self. Because if you do not, you will naturally meditate upon the objects, which is the cause of your problems. Sahaj Samadhi meditation. This is the answer.
Gurudev says, no, always meditation is the only way.
Because in Sahaj Samadhi meditation, you're not dwelling upon any objects, no? And it takes you to that pragyatatma, to the self. My God, Gurudev is so compassionate. He knows so much how misery we create for ourselves and how to get out. He knows how to help us. So powerful. So that's why it said, no, 3 gates to hell: anger, greed, and lust. In Bhagavad Gita only Krishna says these are the 3 gates to hell. So before anger comes, we can control. Up to that, only is within our hands. After that, it is just impulsive behavior. Therefore, meditation is the only way to cleanse and focus on the pragyatatma. Meditate on the pragyatatma. Anyone wants to share?
It's just that the previous few shlokas were all about the Sthita Prajna. So that is on the other end of the spectrum. And this shloka is about the opposite end of the spectrum, talking about how a man who's engulfed with binding desires is how his mind gets destroyed. And it's not about, see, desires are inevitable. It's about whether they're binding or non-binding. As long as they're non-binding, it's fine. But they're binding, that is the downfall. And wanting, the whole thing is about you want perfection. You want things to be done the way you want. And when there is an obstruction to that, that kicks off this whole deluge. And what Sudarshan Kriya and practices do is to create that gap between the onset of anger and that gap between that. There is that gap. So the longer the gap, the bigger the gap, the lesser you are under the control of your emotions, under the grip of your emotions. The smaller the gap or no gap, then you are completely like a slave to your emotions. So all our practices enable us to create that awareness that gives in that gap. So the comparison is between being a turtle to
Yes,
being a
Gurudev,
monkey.
we could not hear it in between, Ramraj.
The thing is between it's the it is between two ends of the spectrum are talked about. One is the Sita Prajna Lakshanas, like a turtle. And the other one, with the present current shloka, is all about being a slave to your desires, to binding desires. So choice is between being a turtle to being a monkey. I don't know whether monkey is the appropriate term there, but whatever is in sight, the senses are all outwardly. Whereas for the Sthita Prajna, the senses are under his or her control. Even the rasa goes away.
So that's why, Gurudev says, become like the mirror, which does not take any impressions, but just comes and goes. Whatever is happening just comes and goes. It doesn't create an impression. So you have to make your mind like the mirror. No impressions are made on the mirror. Polish. That's why he says, no, polish the mind.
Of late, I am also getting trapped into this YouTube and media, all talks and everything. I don't know. I really
Hmm?
need that strength to come out of that attraction of going again and again to watch some YouTube talks. It's really, we shout at the children and youngsters. Now we are also getting trapped into certain YouTube political and all those discussions.
Hmm. You
Last
go
two,
to
3 months.
any country, everybody's head is down looking at their phone. People
Uh,
walk on the road, crossing the road, looking at the phone. Have you seen all that?
Yeah, even on the driver seat also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course, we are not gone into that up to that extent, but last 2, 3 months I can observe myself that clearly that the impact of all those political discussions on the YouTube, I'm
Hmm.
getting trapped and making some opinions kind of thing, and it impacts so much, especially if we watch it in the night. It
Hmm.
definitely lingers and leaves some impressions on our consciousness. Need to be very
Hmm.
careful. I am sure nobody here must be indulging so much into this, but I'm
Hmm.
sharing with you
No,
all that.
everybody is to some extent because of the sensational things that are happening in the world. It catches your attention like yesterday's plane crash. And whole of
Yeah,
afternoon, evening was spent only on that.
right,
It
right, right.
bothers you, no?
Same.
It bothers you.
But then, as an individual, it's especially when we are going through so much knowledge sessions and we are equipped with so much Gurudev's this thing and are sh- should we not avoid these
the
when
Hmm.
first
we
question
so
in the
very well
satsang was too good,
Yeah.
and the answer was so good. And when many times Guruji is saying, be focused. And there is again
Hmm.
whatever we are learning in these classes, no, in sessions, Bhagavad Gita. So Adhyatmik, Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik. Again, that hit me when the message, this message float on the screen. No, that time, see, we can't control it. It happened. Nobody knows. So how much should I take the impact? That again, that wisdom arised. So it was
Hmm.
so means our classes, this morning classes are really relief giving every time, and with the knowledge of Gurudev. Means we are doing the Manana Swadhyaya, and it is making us a means we are going step forward, one step more towards the. It was so beautiful knowledge we are getting. I'm just grateful. And see,
yeah
whenever the anger arises or something happens, Gurudev always says something shrinks in your brain. What that something he makes us make do some meditation. That word I am not remembering. When there is anger, sadness, that restlessness, because of that, how the some from D it starts that word that shrinks inside your brain. So how the wisdom also get affected, anger comes
Amygdala.
with the amygdala.
amygdala right right
Okay. So how
Hmm.
this anger impact our wisdom, and how wisdom is not available, and smruti also because of the smruti, and smruti because of the experiences, and how many lifetimes and everything so connected. Our scriptures are telling us means, but getting that wisdom at different time in a different place is beauty of our scriptures. Before also we have read all this, but now it is just coming up.
We need to transcend because since last 2 3 months, as I am getting trapped and getting attracted to again and again go and see YouTube me what's happening. We need to be little bit careful. That's why I shared this. That
Yeah,
when
things around us, we have to be aware. So many things are happening. With the grace of Gurudev, he said, no, कहाँ चिंता करते हो क्या कर रहे हो wake up that words just every time when we see this thing no how perishable our life is and that
correct,
awareness dawns
taking knowledge is more important than getting swayed away with the
small
emotions.
small
And
things and this conflicts and everything you are so important and he make us feel like that कि क्या उलझे पड़े हो
भाड़ में गया सब कुछ. He said no, भाड़ में गया सब कुछ.
yes
This desires, how, like, I am so surprised how it captures, no? Even in the ashram, in the break time, that time it was a peak thing when we were doing Sayyam. That time also the thought came, कि, okay, let me check what's happening at the war front. That was like, अरे गुरुदेव के चरणों में आके भी you are like, the sensational news is more attracting than I don't know. It's but I just wanted to share कि ऐसा हो रहा है, ऐसा भी होता है.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And the world reaction also makes you angry, and they are so wrong and we are so right, and all that debate goes on in our head also.
And they make the whole podcast so interesting. Na? So, like it is like a continuous thriller kind of thing. I don't know. Suddenly, national this thing feelings also come up and whatnot. Are all stupidity
Yeah,
happening.
correct.
Need
Basically,
to
concerned about the countries, which direction
Yeah,
it's going, and all sorts of the opposition parties and irritating us. So,
we need to become more mature now as sadhaks. I think. Otherwise, it creates impressions. Definitely, it creates impressions.
we already have enough.
Very true. Very true. Plus, additional these things because of the media. No, immediately we get all kinds of information and everybody's opinions and this and that, and then we get swayed away into that. And then again, we sit for our sadhana and all the sessions. It's going on seesaw, up and down, up and down.
only
Yes, I'll read
sadhana at this time will help us so much is happening around and to keep ourselves sane, we need that meditation. And Gurudev saying, no, whenever such thing is around, means in area or something like that, you do means group sadhana and something like that to increase the positivity.
Mm.
Endless things.
So time for us. I'll read the 64th shloka and then we can end. रागद्वेषविमुक्तैस्तु विषयामिन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विदेत्यात्मा प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति. One whose mind is controlled, moving in the world of objects with the sense organs under his or her control, free from likes and dislikes, attains tranquility. So abhyasa, control. Come back to that only. Abhyasa and Vaira. Viveka Vaira. We will end here. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Let me know if you can hear this.
Let us keep our spine erect, body relaxed, eyes closed.
Are you able to hear?
Yes, Sumaji.
Or okay,
Yes.
you're playing fine. Okay, you are playing Savita ji.
Before we meditate, let's just take a moment and a moment of silence. Prayer for all those that have been affected by the plane crash. We are also connected. That is why it pinches us. They're all the whole universe is one organism, right? So that inner balance is what we need to achieve. We cannot be indifferent to all of this. It is happening, and we cannot also shut ourselves out, but with awareness and coming from the space of compassion. So let's just spend 1 minute in prayer and then we'll play the meditation.
Jai Gurudev. Shall I play the meditation?
Yes, please.
a big smile. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene and with a serene smile on your face. Relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it accept those parts of the body where you feel a tension. The other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are guests for some time. Let them.
Shall we close?